Good morning, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels. Forgive me, I can't brain today. And we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we get going, the usual disclaimers. And then, we're going to descend into the madness of Dr. Matthew Israel. Before we get going this morning, celebrate with me. I managed to not look at my Twitter TL before I started. Yay! But I did want to make you all aware of something that's been going on. I mentioned it last night in my live during open chat, but just to make you all aware that since the whole Andrew Tate Greta Thunberg thing went down, we've had a lot of individuals acting absolutely detestable towards her. Now, I'm not telling you who to like and who to believe. What I'm telling you is what's not okay is using her diagnosis as a means to demean, to humiliate, to slander, and to infantilize her. Nor do I think it is okay, if you are a fan of this guy, God knows why, to attack this person with comments such as she should be punched in the face repeatedly. What the hell is wrong with you? You are allowed to have a differing opinion in this world without having to fear retaliation. At least you did about 20 to 30 years ago. It's not okay, folks. You can disagree. You can live in la fantasy land and believe climate change is a hoax, even though the polar ice caps are melting all you want to. What you're not going to do is use someone's diagnosis as a means and a way to demean, humiliate, and tarnish them. Because guess what, folks? That is ableism. That is hatred. That is bigotry. Not because of the individual person or even what they stand for, but because they have a particular diagnosis. Before any of you all come jumping on me, if any other 19 or 20-year-old started a beef with Andrew Tate and they were neurotypical, would you be using this terminology that you use with us? They're a child, they're their parents' pawn, they don't know what they're doing. To call them inbred autistic mange? No, you wouldn't. Yeah. There is this thing in society, well, particularly those of us with developmental disabilities, or as I prefer to call them, neurodevelopmental, are forever perennially seen as children no matter how old we are. I know this because I'm pushing 40, and I still have people who treat me like I am 5 years old. As though because I'm autistic, magically I do not understand about anything about the world, and somehow I am mentally stunted at 5. That is a lie. That is bigotry. That is ignorance. It's intolerance. And I will not stand for it. Ever. You need to think about how you treat some of us. You need to think about how you treat people with disabilities in general. For all those people who like to sit back and say, well, that's not true, come live my life. Go live Greta's life. Go live Jennifer Masumba's life. Or even Temple Grandin's life. Do it for a day. See how people start to treat you. I just wanted to get that out there because what I saw was absolutely sickening. Completely sickening. And coming from individuals who like to puff out their chests and call themselves Christian, do you know that your religion calls for the respect of people with disabilities? Do you know that your dogma says that you should treat us with the human dignity that God gave to all men and women? You're not doing yourself any favors here. Okay? Alright, sorry folks. My blood is still boiling. Still boiling. What was done with Greta by these people on social media was beyond the par. Beyond the par. Okay? Oh, and before I move on, I want to address this whole idea. Yes, Greta, go! Strike down the patriarchy. For fuck's sake. Get off the cross, Karen. You're not Jesus. Okay? The only thing she's trying to stop is from our environment going to even worse shit than it already is. Quit attaching your agenda onto everyone else. Particularly those of us who are neurodiverse. We have enough shit we have to deal with. Do not project your motivations and your fantasy la la land bullshit onto us. Please and thank you. Okay? Is there some sexist things systemic in our society? You fucking betcha. I live in fucking Southwest Missouri. Okay? I live in a state that now abortion is banned, no matter what, even in cases of incest. Believe me, I know misogyny is alive and well. But some of y'all don't seem to understand what real misogyny is. You throw that word around like it's fucking confetti over things that are not misogynist at all. That's my point. Now let's get started. Sorry, folks, I've been holding that in all week. In the description box, folks, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It is written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's quote-unquote behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they do not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill, folks. Please read that article and don't forget to share it on all your social media. You also have linked in their NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC has the balls to see through with their threat. You also got the links in regards to the Agape boarding school situation. Agape boarding school is a Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has and pending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it. These allegations include sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You've had one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor who still lives on the premises with full access to the boys up on multiple charges substantiated by the hard evidence of the Missouri Department of Social Services of sodomy, rape, and a sexual assault of the boys there. We've got a new attorney general in who's another mega GOP dumbass who has done absolutely nothing in regards to this case, nor has he made any comment on it. And we still have that governor on the power trip from hell with full access to Missouri's National Guard. Please get me out of here. For the love of God, get me out. Whew. So, folks, please share those links on all your social media. Don't forget to share and sign the change.org Shut Agape Boarding School Down petition. We got the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign as well, including Hoya's massive archive on the subject, the templates. We got the archive, of course. We got a link to Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses. We got a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002. We got the templates and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please go ahead and use your headphones, all right? All right, this channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and talk about dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and watching this channel, parental supervision is very obviously advised, all right? Trigger warning, we are about to descend into the mad ravings of the lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear victim blaming, gaslighting, lies, pseudoscience, just out and out stupidity, and enough ableism and bigotry to circle the globe several times over, okay? So just be prepared for that. All right. So here's the next one. When positive-only procedures prove to be insufficiently effective, a preferable alternative to the other alternatives listed in Section E above is arrange a brief aversive consequence, such as the behavioral skin shock after each instance of targeted inappropriate behavior. For fuck's sake. And let me guess, your source is you, right, doctor? So once again, all the shit we've previously gone over, all the things he's mentioned, right, about programs he's never been a part of, never studied, nor has he looked into their programs and seen how they are implemented. And remember, his source is, trust me, bruh, his source is himself. Of all the arrogance I see in my day-to-day life, and I see a lot of arrogant fuckers out there, this dude takes the cake. This guy makes AH look like a choir girl, and that's a special level just out there. You know what I mean? When he says positive-only procedures, first of all, I don't know if he's willfully lying or if he's actually just that ignorant about what positive-only programs there are out there. Maybe it's a bit of both. But what he refers to as positive-only procedures aren't actually positive-only procedures. He uses vague but familiar sounding terminology so that your brain will link positive only to positive behavioral reinforcement. It's a trick, folks. Clever, but not clever enough for my autistic brain that notices details. They're not remotely the same, folks. ABA, what he's mentioning, which is ran through the schools, which is what the only thing a lot of people in poorer communities, particularly those he targets in particular, which is people of color with children with disabilities, is ABA through the school system, which can only be used to a point, folks. This is a kid, they go 8 hours to school, and these special education teachers, they are overworked, underpaid, without enough budget to actually be able to utilize and educate the kids that they have in the room. You know what I mean? A lot of these teachers are paying out of their pockets. Their classes are overfull. They are not in any way, shape, or form supported. You see where I'm going with this, right? And you want to know why he calls it positive only? Because his idea of aversives are punishments, folks. Skin shock, food deprivation, sleep deprivation, torture. Okay? In actuality, he's not talking about any real programs. He's just basically tearing into ABA, while in the meantime, he is actually practicing more severe form of ABA. Funny, isn't it? It's almost like he's saying that those ABA programs aren't harsh enough. Wrap your brain around that for a minute. You have a program that is basically built to tear down and tear apart an autistic person, and then to force us into your own image. It doesn't actually work as people think it does. All it teaches us to do is to bask with all the self-loathing and years of trauma that provides. They do actually include aversives, including ignoring us when we're in our own particular sensory hell. It also wants us to desensitize and not have reasonable accommodations like noise canceling headphones so that we can actually, be our autistic, authentic selves and get the help we need. You see where I'm going here, right? Is it any wonder that ABA doesn't work for some individuals? I'd be happy to actually go ahead and tell you ABA doesn't actually work for anyone. Because all you're teaching the autistic to do is to sell a lie. Okay? No wonder it doesn't work. No wonder they get aggressive and angry. Anybody who is forced to pretend to be something other than what they are and are being told their whole goddamn lives that they have to act that way, or we don't have the right to be a part of the rest of society. That's going to bring in some anger. When you force a student to wear things that are literally painful for us to wear, when you force us to go without reasonable accommodations because the schools and the teachers and the parents are embarrassed because we are standing out and looking different, when you refuse to meet us even so much as halfway, hell, not even a quarter of the damn way, there's going to be some resentment and aggression. Okay? Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this shit out. Some of you neurotypicals don't like wearing wool. Why? It's itchy. In fact, distracts you to the point that you cannot carry on with your day, so you take off the wool. We don't get that luxury in ABA. We have to wear it because we have to be desensitized. Yeah, that's the truth of the programs that Matthew Israel calls positive only. It's a crock of shit, folks. He's lying out his ass. The only expertise Dr. Matthew Israel has is in torturing people and giving them as much psychological and physical pain as he can possibly manage to put into a single human being and get away with it. And ABA as done through the school systems. That's it. He's not an expert on any of the other things that he's bringing up here. He doesn't even use the correct terminology. So yeah, there's that. But let's move on here. JRC's basic approach is described as followed. I can describe it in one word. It's called torture. Number 1, following the advice of the psychiatrist, eliminate or minimize the use of psychotropic medications. Oh, for fuck's sake. Can I say again, the most dangerous thing you can do on this fucking planet is take somebody off their meds who actually needs it. This doctor thinks he can cure your kid's schizophrenia by torturing him, instead of giving them the medications that can help them and enable them to live a normal life. This doctor is beyond dangerous. He is one of the most dangerous quack doctors out on the face of the globe. Do not take this man's advice, parents. Do not listen to this man. Okay? Please hear me on this. This is pseudoscience. He would rather you have your child tortured than allow them to have the medications that they need. If you can take nothing else home from the hundreds and hundreds of videos we have done on this subject, please, this one. Okay? For the love of God. Because let me tell you, most psychiatrists are not going to tell you to yank someone with schizophrenia off their meds. They're going to ask you if they're on crack. And if you got a psychiatrist that recommends this, get a new one. Number 2, provide a highly consistent individualized behavior modification program on a 24/7 basis featuring positive reward and educational procedures to teach new skills and replacement behaviors. Oh, fuck me. Fuck me. Again, this is what's stupid about the medical model. It is this consistent idea that will not die the way of the dodo, even though it is completely batshit. That somehow we can change everything with behavior modification, even if the disability is not a behavioral one. I know people still categorize autism as mental illness. It's not. It is a developmental disability, or as I like to call it, a neurodevelopmental disability. Granted, I know there's newer terminology, but folks in my autistic community, please forgive me for that. I've kind of been out of the field for a few years. I'm still a part of it in many ways, but not like I was before. So please forgive me if some of my own terminology is antiquated. I don't mind if you correct me there in the comments on it. Okay? My point is, you cannot treat a neurodevelopmental disability, a disability that has to do with your brain, with behavioral modification, because it's not a behavioral disorder. The behaviors that come out of us are a side effect, if you will. Not the main event. Okay? In particular, with neurodevelopmental disabilities, behavior is absolutely 100% communication, up front and in particular. Okay? It is completely batshit to treat a disability that starts with the brain and brain development with behavioral modification. No amount of ABA is ever going to change the fact that I am autistic and that I am going to have behaviors on occasion. Nothing's going to change that. There is no magic bullet cure. There is no pill, no torture, no shock device, no sleep deprivation or food deprivation that is ever going to change my neurology. It's never going to happen. You are never going to make me be, no matter how good at acting I can be. I give an Oscar performance every single day on the phones, folks. When I'm out there, when I'm doing speeches, when I'm talking to parents, I can do good. I can be very good. But that's still that something. That little something about me, whether it's the way I move, in particular, how I form words and how I speak. It's always going to give away exactly who and what I am. Okay? You're never going to make us look, sound, act, and be completely 100% neurotypical. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Just in case y'all were wondering, behavior modification is the new term they like to use. What it actually is brainwashing. You're trying to brainwash us into acting neurotypical. If you don't believe me, start studying this shit. It's this idea, if you keep doing something repetitively, it will then all of a sudden become natural. These are the facts, though, folks. None of this shit has ever been natural to me. Small talk is not natural to me. Asking small questions about the weather that neurotypicals somehow, for some reason, seem obsessed with and get kind of upset with you if you're not asking them. Yeah, that will never be natural to me. It's acting. It's a mask. Okay? Please start living in reality. Number 3. Try this for an adequate period to find out if this alone will be sufficiently effective. At JRC, this is tried for an average of 11 months and are successful for more than half the students. Lie! That's a lie, Dr. Matthew Israel. As a matter of fact, we know from witness testimony and the New York report that these kids get a single week. It's not 11 months. It's 7 fucking days. They get 7 days. That is a lie. Oh, but since they didn't put the shock device on them immediately after that first week, that must mean that it's positive only. Only in Dr. Matthew Israel's head. They're still putting them on the food program where they have to throw away food. They are still sleep depriving them. They're still having their staff jump out of them during their bizarre behavioral rehearsal lessons, grab them from around the collar, and yell and threaten their face. And they use that to trigger the behavior so then that they can then go back to the judge and say, see, this happened on this day, and they had an incident, and they should be on the shock device. You think I don't know how you work, doctor? Spare me your bullshit. I see right through it. So does every single other person who has been a colleague with me, doctors, psychiatrists, social workers, direct care staff, people I have worked with and worked alongside to help build programs and education programs throughout the entirety of my state. Please spare me your moronic bullshit. That is a lie, folks. Number 2, successful for half the students. Is it? Or is it those students learn to do what I did? We learn to act. We create a mask, a separate persona, if you will, that shows the outside world what it is they want to see so that we can be left the fuck alone. Now, to the outside, that might seem like an success. It's not. The mental health damage, the psychological damage of having to do that day after day after day after day, the exhaustion alone, the fucking exhaustion alone. Oh, and you're never allowed to break character, by the way. Never allowed to break character. They want you to be in that character 24/7, folks. This is why many of us burn out and die at early ages. Okay? That's why you're called an ancient autistic if you make it past the age of 30. Yeah. So spare me your idea of success, doctor, because it's a lie you all tell yourselves so that you can pat yourselves on the back. Okay? Number 4, if this proves to be insufficiently effective, supplement with the use of a brief dissolutive consequence and aversive each time the behavior occurs. So, if the bullshit doesn't work for a week, they're going to put you on the torture device as soon as they can get the judge to sign off on it. And remember, folks, they bring up that kid strapped in like they're fucking Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs. Mask and all. It's not like they're manipulating the judges, is it? Yeah. So what are we learning from this particular video, folks? Other than Matthew Israel is a lying piece of shit. Matthew Israel is once again proving his complete, utter ignorance within his own field. He is once again toting pseudoscience and encouraging people to take people, some of them with mental health issues. Not every student in this school is autistic. Many of them have mental health issues, such as schizophrenia, sociopathy, and other diagnoses. People who need their meds. This doctor is encouraging you to take them off and to have them tortured instead. Yeah. This is not a guy who should be trusted with so much as a fucking slug. Okay? So he's proving his ignorance on other programs, toting his as a better one, and continuing to try and get you to buy that torture is the best idea. It's the only way to save us. It's bullshit and it's bad for you, folks. We've already gone over the myriad of ways and different forms of treatment that can be done that do actually work when one uses logical means and actually uses their heads for 5 seconds. But that's kind of the point here with Dr. Matthew Israel, isn't it? The government is throwing money at and allowing this to continue on because people balk when the word treatment gets brought up. Nobody ever does their homework because, trust them, they're doctors. You can't. You really can't. You got to do your research, folks. Read what these people say. See what they do. And a degree does not make you an expert. I hate to say this. Most people will be like, but doesn't it? Doesn't it? No. Dr. Matthew Israel is my Exhibit A. I'm going to close out on that. Don't get very many reviews on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. As always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.